Yo, what's happening in Korea? First they got north, now things seem to be going south.
For days, anti-corruption officials have been seeking to arrest Yoon Song-yeol, who remains holed up in his residential compound.
Korean chaebol.
They basically single-handedly run the economy.
Oh, there's rich and then there's super rich.
This is like rich, like can't be touched by law, control presidents type of rich.
South Korea is collapsing.
Light it up like dynamite.
I thought Korea's been popping since K-pop. I mean, you got BTS, then Train to Busan straight after, and by the looks of it, everything was going good. So what happened?
It seems like one of the most advanced societies in the world. But under the surface, there's a huge problem.
South Korea's population is declining faster than it did in Europe during the Black Plague. South Korea's birth rate has officially dropped to an all-time low of 0.72 as of 2024, the lowest in the world. Now, there are many reasons for this, and I'm sure you've seen plenty of videos explaining them already. Financial pressures, intense work culture, gender conflicts, sole centralized structure, you name it. But what's even more interesting is how young Koreans have stopped dating altogether. Simply put, no dating means no couples, no marriages, and of course, no babies. And that's becoming a serious problem. The South Korean government has even stepped in with official dating programs, and even Buddhist temples are now offering matchmaking temple stays to help people couple up.
I'd like to help. My mother always told me to be charitable. I'd love to help contribute to the community. Man, I'm just trying to be a good citizen, making the world a better place, one small act of kindness at a time. Hey, South Korea, if you're recruiting, sign me up.
According to a recent survey, 62.4% of non-married Koreans over the age of 18 are not in a relationship, while only 37.6% are. And that's pretty shocking. So why aren't people dating?
More people are prioritizing personal freedom and individual fulfillment over traditional family structures. But I think probably the number one most important reason as to why people are not getting married right now in Korea is down to lack of money. And this is not just unique to Korea, as Gen Z and millennials from all over the world are realizing, hey, it's different from our parents' generation where they could just buy a house pretty easily. And it was also possible to support a family on one person's income.
I mean, my grandparents used to trade chicken for lands. Yeah, times definitely changed, but not for the better.
But these days, unless you're really wealthy, of course, this is just not possible anymore.
And there's another fascinating stat. 57.3% of Koreans in their 20s to 30s said that they have never been in a relationship before. Can you believe that?
I mean, it don't sound too bad to me. I mean, we could all do with a few exes gone in our lives, right? But man, you ain't missing much. Especially at a young age, relationship is a killer. It weighs down on you. So it's just best to build your career up and focus on yourself. Be a good person. There's already so much struggle in life you face as a young person, men and women alike. You all have your own battles. So focus on them. And really stringing along another person. If you've ever been in a relationship at a young age, man, you know how burdensome it can be. And to be honest, I wish I listened to my elders too. They told me not to get in a relationship at a young age. Build your career, go to school, do this, do that. At the end of the day, your relationship, once that person leaves, everything fades. It goes. But if you went to school, if you got a job, if you got some sort of career, hey, you can be fired and you'll still have that to rely on. In our youth, especially in our teens and our 20s, we should spend our time just building ourselves up. Things that can last us for the rest of our lives. A relationship at such a young age won't always last. And we can waste years of our life into this one thing and leave with nothing. So hey, ain't a fair trade. And if you're a young person watching this, focus on yourself. If you want to get in a relationship, do so. But make sure it doesn't get in the way of your career, your profession. You need to become first. Because chances are, even if that person falls in love with you, they're falling in love with a person that is incomplete. You're not you yet. So eventually, they're going to fall out of love with you.
And when you stretch that out to 20 to 59 years old, it's still at 25.5%. So we're not talking about just young people here, it's across the board. And what's interesting is that industries related to dating, like restaurants, bars, movie theaters, are seeing significant declines because of this so-called dating recession. Even when people do date, they're dating on a budget.
Hey man, before anything else, get your money up. At the end of the day, if you invest in money, inflation can only go down as little. But as we see now, if you invest in a girl, inflation is way up here. meaning that the quality of women back in the olden days operated at a much higher standard than what you would get now in these age. She belongs to the streets.
For your info, last year, single men and women spent an average of 74,700 Korean won, which is around $55 per date, which is down from the previous year. Interestingly, while the men pay for everything, or men should pay more, culture is still common in Korean dating. 39% of the men said that financial pressure is the reason they are not dating, compared to 0% from the women's side.
The pure innocence, happiness, pure bliss. Man, I wish I was them. All the relationships they've ever given me ain't nothing but trauma, heartbreaks, and debt. I could definitely do without that.
This is the reality of many millennials and Gen Zs living in Korea today.
Hey, we're all in the same boat. I'm a Gen Z. Yikes. Wherever part of the world you are, we're all the same. Gen Z is Gen Z. You just gotta knuckle down, put your head down, work through it, smile through it.
So much so that there's a new Korean term coined for this called Enpo generation.
Enpo? Sounds tasty to me. Want me some Enpo chicken? Yeah, sounds about right.
Po is short for the Korean word pogihada, which means to give up. The term used to be called 3Po generation, referring to a generation of people who have given up on the 3 major milestones in life: dating, marriage, and children. The term then expanded to 5Po generation, including the 2 additional milestones of home ownership and career goals. And this number just continued to increase to track additional life goals that people are giving up. And we got 7Po generation and later 9Po generation. And at some point, people just stopped counting and just call it Npo generation, with the letter N referring to an unknown number. The term now refers to people who have given up on life's pursuit in general. We can start with the Korean culture around universities. While here in the West, we have trending slogans like college is a scam and escape the matrix, the older generation of Koreans love universities. To them, college is as much a place to acquire skills and employment prospect as it is a place to acquire social prestige and fulfill cultural expectations. So much so that many of them push their children to attend universities without really questioning the practical utility of a college degree. This resulted in the most educated society in the modern world. Korea had the highest level of tertiary education amongst all OECD countries for its youth population in 2023, with nearly 70% of young people having a college degree of some kind. This seems like a good thing, but it's created certain problems. To start, it decreased the value of college degree. Right? Diamond is valuable because it's rare. If diamonds are as abundant as water, no one will buy them. This intuition can be applied in a way to college degree as well. If the number of jobs stay the same, the more people have college degree, the less valuable they become in the job market. This is especially the case in the Korean economy, which can be described as rather monopolistic. The Korean economy is dominated by a handful of large family-owned conglomerates known as chaebols. Chaebols dominate key industries in Korea and have significant influence over the economy. It is therefore hard for new and smaller companies to compete with them. This decreased market competition leads to fewer job creation, which means more highly educated college graduates have to fight over the same number of jobs. This results in underemployment, where many young Koreans settle for jobs they are either overqualified for or jobs that are not relevant to their education. That the parents' background was key to their children's success. This means that if you're not born into a wealthy family, it's much harder for you to get ahead in life. Instead, you'd watch your peers who have won the genetic lottery fly by as you remain stuck in place, seemingly no matter how hard you work, which likely contributed to many young people joining the Npo Generation Club. This is reflected in this year's record high number of young Koreans who have given up on looking for jobs altogether. Now, this seems pretty dark at this point. We've got a group of highly educated young people who find themselves in a society that is wealthy but oppressive. They see the abundance that is all around them, yet out of reach. They see wealth being enjoyed by the top echelon of society, while they are at the bottom fighting for scraps. And now they've grown tired of this fight and given up on life. underneath this rather depressing social phenomenon is something much more hopeful and promising. Despite what it seems on the surface, Empo generation is not just about surrendering in the face of life's difficulty. It also represents a rebellion of sort.
Viva la Révolution! Hey, you know what happened to France, right? Hey, I mean, at this point, might as well join your neighbors up top. I mean, I'm sure Uncle Kim will welcome you with open arms.
This rebellion is quiet and subtle, yet firm in its intention. It's almost too nuanced to detect, but once you see it, it's impossible to look away. What we have here is a rebellion against societal norm, where young people have decided to charter their own course rather than blindly following the rat race of society. They're not giving up on these life goals. Rather, they are actively rejecting them. They're not saying, oh, I can't have this, therefore I'm sad. They're saying, fuck you, I don't want it. They have considered the goals that their societies and culture and family have conditioned them to want, and decided that these goals are not for them, that they would start thinking for themselves and pursue something else instead. There are two parallel ideas that started trending simultaneously with this phenomenon of Empo generation in Korea that illustrates this. The first is YOLO, which stands for You Only Live Once.
Yes! I've been waiting for this for so long. YOLO's finally making a comeback. I mean, who remembers this back in like 2014 or something? Man, those times are special. YOLO, man, we need a bit of YOLO these days. We got YOLO making a comeback before we got GTA 6. Life's tough.
It's an idea that encourages people to embrace life and take risks and live in the moment. YOLO has become a popular hashtag on Korean social media, and its influence on young Korean is evident in their spending habits. Recent trends indicate that Korean youth are increasingly engaging in higher spending, particularly on luxury goods, and accumulating significant credit card debt. Now, this is unusual, especially in contrast with Korea's eastern and western neighbors, namely Japan and China. Japan has always been a frugal country, and that's not changing with their current generation. And Chinese youth seems to have become so afraid of spending money that it's partially causing the economic slowdown of the Chinese economy. Korean youth, on the other hand, are making it rain with credit cards like there's no tomorrow. Now, YOLO, in my opinion, is a drug that can be healing or killing depending on the dosage. In moderation, it promotes a daring attitude to seize the day, but it's clear that at least some Koreans are overdosing on YOLO, racking up tens of thousands of dollars of credit card debts and frankly at risk of bankruptcy. So YOLO by itself does not necessarily indicate something positive. It only reveals a shift in priority from the future to the present. But when coupled with the other trend, the story becomes clear. Trending alongside hashtag YOLO is another hashtag that seems to mean the same thing, but with a very different implications. This hashtag term is called So-hwak-haeng. Unlike YOLO, So-hwak-haeng means the small but certain happiness in life.
Hey, I'm a So-hwak-haeng. Small but certain happiness in life? Sounds like me.
So-hwak-haeng does not require a heroic effort to obtain. Rather, it is already here now. You might just be overlooking it. It's the simple joy of watering your plants, or sipping a glass of ice water, or driving to work in the morning while watching the sunrise. If YOLO represents a change of priority from the future to the present, then So-hwak-haeng represents what one discovers in the present upon this change of priority. It's the realization that one might have been foolish all along, chasing after a way of living dictated by society while overlooking the joy that is already here. That we've been so busy trying to fulfill everyone else's expectation that we've forgotten about the one person that is more important still, ourselves. Now, I'm not saying that all of the Empo generation are positive in this way. I'm sure there are some youths who are truly disenfranchised and have given up on life with no silver lining. And to them, Empo generation might represent nothing more profound than a few months of reckless spending and mountains of credit card debts. For some Korean youths, Empo generation is nothing more than a coping mechanism, but for others, it represents a restatement of value. They're challenging the traditional definitions of success. Rather than pursuing conventional milestones dictated by society, they start to focus on attainable and personally meaningful goals instead. Some of them have stopped looking for conventional jobs, instead opting for gig works, freelancing, and entrepreneurship. Many started practicing minimalism and prioritizing their life over their work. Some of them might take a year off and travel the world, or otherwise explore creative pursuits and other passion projects. In general, this reflects an interesting cultural shift across generation in Korea. Korea, as with other East Asian countries heavily influenced by Confucianism, are collectivist society. They traditionally prioritize social cohesion over individual happiness. Empo generation then represents a cultural movement towards the individualistic side, where young people are starting to prioritize their own happiness over fulfilling the expectations of the group they belong to. Now, I'm not one to reject tradition for its own sake. In my opinion, there's a reason why certain lessons survived through the generations. But at the same time, I recognize that we live in a world that is changing faster than any other time in human history. This means that although certain lessons from the past remain useful in general, the way that we apply them in the present might need to change. So if Empo generation represents young people's exploration outside of tradition, I hope they eventually find their ways back to it. That through their adventure, they find ways to integrate the lessons of the past with the ever-changing future and apply them gainfully in the present.
I mean, overall, it's a fascinating thing, seeing that most of our struggle, especially the youth all over the world, is going through a similar phase and similar battles. It's everywhere. It's really like a pandemic. And eventually, you will have a collection of these people that will gather and have an uprising. Because eventually, those youth will grow up and they will be the future. And when they become the future, then, well, that's when you start to see the problems rising. But overall, though, we all need faith at this time. At this point of our journey, all the younger generation out there, we need God. We need faith. We need Jesus. Or whatever your religion may be. You need to cling on to something that is greater than yourself. Because if you don't, you'll be consumed by the dark side. And you will remain hopeless for the rest of your existence. And worse, that darkness can overcome you. So don't capitulate to the struggles of life. Overcome them. You, me, together. We can rise above it. Just like they say, tough times make strong people. So strengthen yourself. Improve yourself. Don't get consumed and caught up with the rat race. Don't let the flood of hedonism and pleasure wash away all your dreams. Stay focused at this time. Don't lose hope. Keep chasing your dreams and don't give up on it. It is possible for you, me, and everybody in the world, wherever you may be. And know that whatever chains may be attached to you, it is never too late to set yourself free. Thank you for watching another episode of The Third Eye. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Let's grow this together. I'm 30 and this is The Third Eye, helping you see life in play.